So we got a new microphone, better audio. We'll make some serious upgrades right now. What is going on, guys? So we're gonna be doing a review today on Emerald Fennell's latest film, Wuthering Heights. This is a film based on the book Wuthering Heights that released many, many years ago. I haven't read it. I'll probably end up reading it at some point in the future, but if you're looking for a review that comes from the perspective of someone that has read it and is looking to compare it to the movie and how does it stand up, this is not gonna be it. I'm not gonna be able to compare the book to the film. I'm just gonna be giving my thoughts on just the film itself, what it has to offer, and if it's a good film or not. So, Wuthering Heights. This is quite a choice, to say the least. This is a very interesting tale between the love, quote unquote, the love between Heathcliff and Kathy. Heathcliff is played by Jacob Elordi, and Kathy played by Margot Robbie. Now, these two are in love, especially Heathcliff. Heathcliff is very in love with Kathy, and it kind of goes a bit of an exploration between the relationship between violence and love and how they're actually more intertwined than you would think. This isn't like the very Titanic or Romeo and Juliet type of story in a sense that there's a lot of romance, there's a lot of love and stuff like that. A lot of it is will they, won't they? The horrible things that people can make us do when we're in love, the things that the choices that we make, how far we're willing to go for some other person. And you really kind of see that with Heathcliff, his character. Heathcliff is so in love with Kathy, and he's, brought into the story as a lowborn servant to his family, and he kind of goes through the motions, grows up. He's doing the things as many servants does, work in the stables and just doing the bottom of the barrel work. Wuthering Heights, the film itself, is clearly its own adaptation. It has no ties to the book whatsoever, and me, without even reading it, can immediately tell that this is the case. It's definitely its own thing. You see that through the characters, the storyline, and how everything is connected in a sense. Connected. I mean, you kind of can tell that the most inspiration that Emerald Fennell got from the books is really the characters with their names and the story setting. But besides that, it seems to be her own interpretation. Now, the main characters of these films is Heathcliff and Kathy. We understand their relationship from children all the way to adulthood, and they have a very close bond with one another, very platonic, but also very intimate, especially in the first like 20 minutes of the film, where they're children and just kind of growing up together and going through the challenges that they go through, especially Heathcliff. Heathcliff is a character that is a lowborn. He's a servant. He doesn't really come from wealth. And he just is there to serve the family and do all the bottom of the barrel chores. Um, and a lot of times he's faces abuse. He's been subjected to so much bad things in order to protect Kathy. He is very much in love with Kathy in this film. Now, Kathy is a character that is definitely from the upper classes in comparison to Heathcliff. She's going through a lot of changes. She's growing up as a woman and, making her own decisions independently. One of the biggest decisions that she decides to do is to pursue a man who moves near to where they are. And his name is Edgar Linton. Now, Edgar Linton is a character, very nice man, respectable, but comes from much, much more money than what Kathy has. And so a marriage between Edgar and Kathy would allow Kathy to not only sustain her family, but also, live in comfort as well. Now, this is a huge decision that Kathy decides to make, and eventually pushes Heathcliff away. Heathcliff is very much in love with her. And so Heathcliff decides to make a drastic decision to leave, completely leaves. He's actually disappears from the movie for quite a bit of time in order to pretty much pursue money, pursue education, and eventually comes back as a whole different character in comparison to where he was earlier. He comes back to Kathy, and he's rich, he's wealthy, he has a whole new look, all that kind of stuff. And so this kind of creates a little bit of a confusion in Kathy's life because she's already in such a stable marriage, but she has those underlying lingering feelings that he had for Heathcliff that she's been kind of denying for quite some time. Um, and this is kind of where the tension and the love triangle comes into the play. However, it's not so much love that the movie leans into. It's more of like the violence and the suffering that one does to another when they don't choose them, especially from Heathcliff's side. And so this kind of just leads to a lot of like torture, emotionally at least, throughout the film. Now there are pros and cons to the film. Definitely more cons than there are pros to this film in particular. So I'm going to start off with what I enjoyed first. I think the best part of this film is the cinematography. Emerald Fennell had definitely has an eye for this. She does a great job at capturing on screen with absolute intention. Every shot in this film will keep your eyes glued, and they kept my eyes glued certainly throughout the film. The colors pop, they stand out. You definitely don't get tired of looking what's on the screen. It's definitely the best aspect of this, and it's really great. It's very nice to have very stunning visuals, having colors stand out, and having shots that feel like they mean something. Now, however, this doesn't translate always to excellent visual storytelling. Now, a lot of the times I do feel like that this is more for aesthetics rather than trying to invoke a message or trying to show you that there's emotion through visuals. I don't feel that that's the case most of the time. Some decisions were made on this film that honestly didn't feel like they made sense. Definitely a strong example of this is the decision to make Kathy's room her skin color. That honestly, I had no idea while looking at the promotional material. I had no idea that her her walls were being painted the same color as her skin. You even have like the moles and like some veins and stuff like that on the wall. And so when Heathcliff licks the wall, like that really doesn't invoke much because it was just such a short moment, and it's not like a build up or a talking point between these two characters where it's like, whoa, the decision, it makes complete sense. It's more of like they kind of did it just because, and it's a little confusing. Regardless, I can definitely still appreciate how dramatic everything can definitely look, especially like the moment when Heathcliff leaves and you have like a very dramatic red, like sunset, red, orange, heavy on the red sunset. Definitely not a real sunset. Maybe it is in some place of the world. I've never seen a sunset like that. However, it can definitely have meaning in terms of like his fire burning inside him, and him making such a tough and passionate decision in the pursuit of love, in quotes I say that. But I think your eye candy is definitely served in this film. Now, this is a kind of like a pro and a con in the sense that I kind of lean more pro in this aspect of the film. That has to do with the music, specifically with Charlie XCX soundtrack for this film. I think the album itself, I think it's good. It's decent. I like the music that came out for this film, but I don't think it fit 100% of the time in this specific film. Now, one of the songs that I do think definitely did fit was Wall of Sound, mainly because of the strings, the orchestra in that music, and just like the dramaticness of Charlie XCX's voice. and kind of like the hauntingness, the strings that play throughout this film. Like they use this song twice in this film. One moment was when Heathcliff is destroying a chair in order to start a fire for Kathy, and the strings kind of help elevate like passion and love between well, rather more from Heathcliff's side in this scene, for Kathy. The other moment they use this song is like in probably one of their most erotic moments between Heathcliff and Kathy is when, Kathy's doing something and Heathcliff puts her fingers in his mouth. And so the strings again, it works. It works, the lyrics work, and it's very dramatic. I think that definitely worked. However, I don't think every song in this album fits this film. It's too poppy, it's too modern, and gives it a more music video type of feeling in this film. It starts to feel like a music video that has a storyline, kind of like those music videos that you would watch that isn't just a music video for just for music video sake. There's like an actual storyline going on, and so it's weird. It's a weird feeling. I don't think it worked 100% of the time. I don't know. You might disagree with me on that, but I don't think that was the best choice. I think just a score for this film would have definitely worked. I don't think Charlie XCX needed to make original music for this film. It's definitely takes you out of it. I don't think it worked 100% of the time. A lot of times, even it felt like an edit, like some kind of edit you would see on TikTok or Instagram. It felt that way, and I don't know, it's weird. It didn't land for me 100% time. Wall of Sound, definitely the best song on that album. Definitely, I think that one worked the best in the movie, and the other ones, it was it's all right. It's all right, not in terms of the music quality, but in terms of does it add to the film. It's okay. It's not too bad. Side note, I have it has nothing to do with the film. I have no idea, but why didn't they release the remix of Everything is Romantic by Charlie XCX? Like I have no idea why did that wasn't part of the album. I think that was the song I was looking the most forward to because it was definitely something that was great in the trailer. Like I loved the trailers for the film, especially the first teaser that came out, despite like the controversy, like this doesn't look like Wuthering Heights. I'm talking about like just solely as a trailer itself, not rather the contents that are being shown. As a trailer and with the music, it was excellent. It worked. Absolutely worked. It's striking, it captures your attention, and the music worked. Where is that song? Where is it? I think that was probably the most iconic part of like this entire movie rollout. Everyone was like posting like edits of themselves or their favorite films and movies with that specific audio, and it's so disappointing. Like where'd it go? Where'd it go? I definitely wanted that song, and I don't know. It has nothing to do with the film, but I needed to say that. Cons, oh boy, there are definitely a lot of cons with this film. The biggest con, of course, is the story. The story itself does not feel complete. This feels more like an idea rather than a finished product. We kind of go through this film very, very quickly. Now, the biggest moment in this film is Kathy's death at the end of it, and it's kind of like what we're building up to. This is where it's hard to be sympathetic to Kathy and to Heathcliff. It's very hard to like these characters, but these characters are actually not likable at all. Kathy, it's Kathy is a very controversial character. I don't know. You might have to explain this part to me because I don't understand why it was so sad. I saw people were very upset with the editing in terms of like it's so sad, it's gonna make you cry. I was like, it's about time. It's absolutely about time this character died because Kathy is throwing away her life that she established, her marriage with Edgar. Edgar I thought this guy was gonna be like a very unlikable guy. He's gonna be cruel to Kathy and just give us so many reasons why Kathy should pick Edgar over Heathcliff. But he was a good person, understandable. Even when she was still seeing him, he was understandable about their relationship and gave her time to process everything. But at the end of the day, he wanted her to kind of show him respect that you are my wife, you are with me, and I understand that you have a history with this person, but at some point you need to kind of let that go and move on because for you, but also respect to me because you're my wife. Like I don't understand. I don't understand. And Heathcliff also is a very like crazy, crazy, crazy character. Heathcliff is crazy himself too. Like he is so cruel to Kathy. He uses her sexually and it's insane. He abuses her emotionally with the tactics that he's doing, especially when he comes back throughout the film and then love bombs her. It's crazy. It's crazy what this guy does throughout the film. I don't even know how to explain it. However, that's the thing too. It's such an interesting concept because it happens in real life. Like we all know people that are in these unstable violent relationships, whether that be physically or emotionally, and you just can't understand why they pick this person over and over and over, especially considering that they have another person that is so much better for them on paper. We don't understand why a man or woman picks this person and put allows them to put them through hell. This is a great concept and is actually a real thing that applies to the real world. This is this has potential. However, it doesn't go anywhere. It's not explored. It's not explored throughout this film at all about abusive relationships and about the intertwining of love and violence. It's not explored deeply or to its fullest potential. We just get characters that just abuse each other and then cry about each other when things don't go their way. There isn't any nuance or interesting discussion that arises from this film. And that's very, very, very disappointing because I felt like that could have been a very interesting thing to explore. And a lot of it again has to go with these characters just being unlikable the more the movie progresses. In the beginning, they're fine. Me personally, I think I enjoy their relationship as between them as children. Kathy is teaching Heathcliff, how to read. She's taking care of him. Heathcliff loves her, and he's protecting her from her abusive father, and it's you kind of see the bond that they form with each other. um, but it doesn't go anywhere after that. That's quite disappointing to see. Another aspect is the other characters in this film. I think honestly the most interesting character through this film through and through is Kathy's father. He's definitely the most interesting character in this film, mainly because of his own issues that he has going on. His name is Earnshaw. Now, Earnshaw is a gambler. He's an alcoholic. He's abusive, and it's horrible. Eventually, throughout his life, he kind of loses his money and is kind of like living, kind of like decomposing in a way, in terms of his life, and eventually dies later on in the film, kind of like three-fourths of the way into the film. The reason I believe this character is super interesting is because he kind of has this mentality towards the end of the film that despite him being on his way out, like he's broke now, he's in terrible health conditions. He doesn't believe his life is as bad as Heathcliff's. He think Heathcliff still has it as worse. Like there's nothing worse than being emotionally torn up. They have this interaction in the film between Heathcliff and Earnshaw. Earnshaw is Kathy's father, and so they're having this talk, and he, despite his all his problems, despite all his wrongdoing, he doesn't believe that he is a terrible person, or is in a worse situation than Heathcliff, and that kind of bothers him a lot because Heathcliff grew up with this person. He was fathered by this person, and this person abused him so much, and And you would think that like you if I manage to get my own success, if I manage to get my own education, clean myself up and become, glow up in a sense, and the person my abuser kind of goes down a terrible path, and somehow still manages to think that they're better than me, it is such an interesting dynamic that wasn't really fully fleshed out. I would have loved to see more to him, especially by the actor's acting. I think he was definitely a excellent actor in this film. So props up to him. Now, Nellie is an interesting character in this film to say the least. But she feels like more of a vessel rather than a person that's driven by her own ambitions, her own desires, and is kind of used like a device throughout this film. So she leans more towards a con, rather than a pro. Nelly feels to me like a knockoff version of Olena Tyrell, and that's not a compliment at all. That's not a compliment. She's so shallow, but she's kind of like running the show in the background. Like she's making these decisions to kind of mess with Heathcliff's and Kathy's relationship. But it's like her purpose and her desires are just so, I don't even know. Like they're not there. They're not shown, they're not discussed. It doesn't seem to go anywhere. Like I kept asking myself throughout this film, what is it exactly you're looking for? What is it exactly you want? What is it exactly you're looking for? I don't know. I don't know. It's very confusing because it's not explored enough, and I felt like she could have been an interesting character because she was making a lot of decisions that changed how Heathcliff and Kathy's relationship was working with another. Like she changed a lot for them. She kind of caused a lot of negative things for them, and this should have definitely been a lot more explored. She was just mainly a device used to drive their relationship down a rabbit hole. It was I don't know, improper use in my opinion. Another thing that I had a problem with this film, I don't know if anybody else felt like this, but I felt like a lot of these actors were cosplaying. None of them actually gave me a convincing performance that they are from the time and that they fit the time as well. Everything is too polished, way too polished. No one feels like that they're from the time. It's like somebody wearing a Halloween costume, especially with Isabella. Isabella felt like she was cosplaying in this film. I don't know how to describe it. It was such a weird feeling. The only character that I felt like was convincing were Child, Kathy, and Heathcliff, and also Earnshaw. I just I don't know. It felt like everyone was cosplaying. It didn't feel like they were transforming themselves into that role. That was pretty weird. I don't know if anybody feels the same about that. Now, despite the press, despite all the articles, despite all the things being said while they were promoting this film, does Jacob Elordi and Margot Robbie have chemistry? No. No, they do not. They do not have chemistry. It does not convince me at all. Listen, these are two talented, well-looking individuals, but that doesn't always equal chemistry. You just kind of see right past it. They feel like they're doing a job, they're reading a script, and that they're delivering the lines as best as they can. They do very well with the material that they're given, but it's not enough where they feel like they're feeding off each other's energy. It feels like they're just going through a scene. I was not convinced by their romance and by their love one at all. I think the chemistry that you see on screen has to do with the actor's individual performance. I think with Jacob Elordi coming off Frankenstein, like he's already kind of had that very old um Victorian English Victorian era type of mentality, acting style already going on for him, and he did very well in Frankenstein, by the way. bringing that kind of energy into Heathcliff here in Wuthering Heights definitely worked, and I think he did an absolute great job with the material that he was presented, and made the most of it. Margot Robbie felt like Margot Robbie, but trying to do, whatever the film wanted her to do. She's a great actor as well. She's wonderful, but I'm not convinced by their chemistry. I don't think the way that they look each other. It's like, no, no. I think they're just trying. They're doing their best to give themselves like those eyes that make you look like you're in love or so infatuated with each other. It's not convincing at all, in my opinion. I'm not buying it. I'm definitely not buying it. There definitely could have been better options in terms of who could have played these roles together, because that's kind of like the biggest aspect of any love story. You gotta have two actors that are definitely great on screen together. I don't think this works. In the end, with a lot of films, I always recommend you go to the movie theaters and watch them and see what what you think of it before letting somebody else influence your own ideas. So if you can, you could go watch it and see what you think. I do think this is a hit or miss film, more of a miss for me, in my opinion. The it's like one big scrapbook. You have a lot of ideas that aren't fully fledged. The cinematography's there, the storyline isn't there for the most part, but you have some really interesting concepts and ideas, especially with the intertwining of love and violence. It's not fully fledged out though. The story isn't there. It's not convincing. The actors are not that likable, and you really don't spend most of the movie kind of rooting for them. You're just like, "Oh my God. Like this is this is crazy. This is dreadful." I don't know. That's what I think of the film. It's more of a mess. Not my favorite film. I might watch it. Might My opinion could change if I watch it again. Highly doubt it. But overall, it's not that great of a film. So those are my thoughts on Wuthering Heights. It's unfortunately not a great film, but you should go watch it if you still are on the edge of watching it. Cause why not? Why not? But nevertheless, thank you so much, guys, for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe. Um, and yeah, I'll see you on the next movie that I watch, the next review, and we'll go from there. Have a great day, guys.